We're going to now move on over to Cal State Northridge. Their project is called Restoring the Sepulveda Basin. The project's goal is public advocacy, and in this case, to advocate for a plan to transform the Sepulveda River basin of the LA River into an accessible green space with responsible water management. So super excited to hear more about this, and would love to turn it over to the team to see how your students are advocating to make this vision a reality.
Great, thank you so much. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Lorraine Lundquist, and this list of students on this slide is our team. These students are the very first class of Masters in Sustainability students here at CSUN with our brand new program that launched this year. And we will be discussing restoration in the Sepulveda Basin, which is a section of the LA River watershed located in the valley right at the intersection of the 101 and 405 freeways. And the problem that the students will be discussing is that the LA River Sepulveda Basin in the valley is underutilized, under-accessible, and unnatural. It looks like this in a lot of places. In many places, the river is channeled in concrete and straight lines, has non-native habitat and unhealthy soil. And, the Sepulveda Basin could be so much more than this, as this image from our partner organization called the River Project shows. The River Project has developed a visionary restoration project for the basin that our students will be showcasing today, along with their advocacy and action plans to bring the project to reality. The basin could be a hub of recreation with a central park feel that fully integrates the park into the surrounding area. The river could be restored into its natural state, which would help revitalize the habitat and the soil surrounding it. And then finally, this plan provides much needed flood protection to the area, as well as dramatically increased water capture to address droughts. And the plan addresses 3 of our county's sustainability goals. Goal number 6 regarding accessible parks, goal number 5 regarding thriving ecosystems, and goal number 1 regarding resilient and healthy community environments. So there are 3 parts to the students' project. The first, this semester, they conducted an analysis of a number of different proposals for the area, and they've chosen the River Project to partner with as the proposal that they felt was the most sustainable. Finally, they developed an advocacy plan. They reached out to more than 75 organizations to ask them to sign on to a letter that will be delivered to key decision makers. And they have an action plan where they've established a partnership with CSUN Athletics for student athletes to do habitat restoration. So I'll turn it over to the students to start with their analysis of the River Project's proposal.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So the River Project's proposal for green spaces across the 8 miles of the river restoration will create new gathering places in the Sepulveda Basin. These new community spaces will create a sense of place with the land for the entire Los Angeles area. The combination of diverse recreational and athletic facilities alongside performing arts and the cultural event spaces will promote a balanced concept of leisure, relaxation, and recreation that will expose many people to the diverse possibilities and experiences. Its mission is to provide a flowing sense of connectivity, of variety, and interest appealing to different user groups and sensibilities. Following the footsteps of other great urban parks, these spaces would be accessible, welcoming, and legible within the urban fabric as special spaces. This can be accomplished by expanding networks of multimodal pathways and trails, enhanced spatial relationships between programmatic features of the park, and integration of river and tributary corridors as recreational elements that are opened and made to feel inviting and accessible to the public. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. The River Project's proposal has more accessibility features for the basin. This includes updating the multimodal pathways by making the slope transitions shallower and grading and compliant of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. Accessibility improvements and ADA compliance not only benefit those with disabilities, but all users of the park, ensuring everyone can access and enjoy the park with dignity.
Here to talk about the importance of the soil and land restoration. An increase of 1% in organic matter in the soil will increase carbon sequestration by 10 tons per acre. So the picture that we're seeing on the left is the invasive species in the wildlife refuge, which is black mustard. It doesn't provide any value to our native animals and insects. So the picture on the right is how the basin should look after river and habitat restoration. Much of the area is completely covered in dead mustard plants, which outcompete any native plants trying to establish themselves. Through the process of clearing the invasive plants and replacing them with native plants, carbon will continue to be stored in the soil with an increase in organic matter. There are currently about 100 different kinds of native plants in the basin and just about the same number of invasive weeds. By reintroducing native plants in the basin, there will be increased opportunity for key pollinator species to support revegetation efforts. The basin is a wildlife haven with over 200 species of birds and many mammals. This beautiful ecosystem needs to continue to be revitalized for the benefits to the wildlife, but also for the enjoyment and education of the people who visit it.
Another reason for the nature-based river restoration and stormwater infiltration is to reduce the fire risk. Due to homeless encampments, crashing of model airplanes, and the excessive amount of dry brush in the area, there's an increased risk of fire. With this solution, the increased soil moisture would provide increased fire resistance to the area, ensuring that if fires do occur, they would be less intense due to the increased resistance. Additionally, decreasing homelessness encampments and the moving of the model airplane field would result in decreased likelihoods of fire starting and then spreading.
Another reason for this project is water capture. Worsening droughts continue to strain our water imports, and utilizing our local aquifer to store water that falls naturally is the cheapest way to increase local water supplies. The proposed river restoration project increases 5 times the amount of groundwater recharge. This allows for more water to infiltrate in the soil and increase overall soil health. This proposal will restore 8 miles of the river, which will also reduce the amount of water going to the ocean during future rain events.
We don't often think about the danger of flooding in LA, but scientists at UCLA have studies showing that a massive flood called the arc storm scenario is likely in LA, and the damage from a flood like this would be in the order of $1 trillion, far worse than the estimated damage from fires, earthquakes, or droughts. A restored river provides additional flood protection by allowing water to spread out and soak into non-paved areas. For example, the picture on the right shows a flooding scenario from a computer model. On the top is how the existing park would flood, and the bottom is how the restored river channels would flood. There's an additional 20% flood storage capacity in the proposed system. Flooding in restored habitat areas that benefit from flooding rather than homes and streets that get washed out in the existing situation.
In addition, our action plan has established a collaboration with the Season Athletic Department and the Wildlife Reserve. The focus would be to have 2 to 3 off-season sports attend weeding weekends for about 8 months, where they help remove invasive species and habitat restoration. This dual promotion will help increase engagement and pride within the San Fernando Valley.
So these are some next steps that we would take if we are given seed funding for the river project. We plan to host a forum with city council candidates for the replacement of former council member Nuri Martinez for the seat of council District 6, meet with city, county, state, and federal elected officials, continue our outreach to potential partners and the public, and execute the Season Athletics partnership, and lastly, present to neighborhood councils in the local area.
In conclusion, we have presented a vision from the river project to transform LA River's Sepulveda Basin into a vibrant, healthy river ecosystem that provides recreation, accessibility, healthy soil, fire and flood protection, and water capture. As a class, we choose this vision for the Sepulveda Basin because our analysis showed that this was the most sustainable plan for the area, providing tremendous increases in equity as well as critical multi-benefit community resilience solutions. We have developed an advocacy plan and reached out to over 75 local community leaders and organizations to sign on to the advocacy letter that we will deliver to decision makers. Finally, we have developed a direct action partnership with Season Athletics to provide students volunteers who will be performing the physical labor needed to restore native riparian habitats. We thank you for your time.
All right, wonderful work. One great presentation. Love how coordinated all of you were together on that as well. It felt very collaborative. I love seeing that. So panelists, we want to turn it to you. We do have a couple more projects to get to before 2, so we're gonna try to switch to, just a quick question that you might have for each of these teams as well. Chris, perhaps we start with you this time.
Yeah, it's a comment and a question. This particular area is very familiar to me. We have our G line or orange line going through this location. And I'm just wondering if there's a thought process there, to connect the orange line, G line, greenway that we've created to what you're thinking about. And if not, I'd like to kind of submit that for consideration. Because it's already thriving, and what you have here is a really great project.
Yeah, I definitely think that having more connectivity is part of the program, and making more grand entrances so people can come and use it, and then making mass transportation so that it's more easily accessible. Thank you.
Great. Maribeth, do you have a question for the team?
Yeah, I think one question would be the sensitivity and compassion around the location of homeless people along the river there. It's pretty serious, and I know it would be a big part of the solution, but that would mean a big answer to the problem. So just want to raise that, not to solve it at this point.
Critical question there. LaRonda, do you have a question for the team?
Regarding the homeless issue in that area, I was down there last week, and that whole area between the freeways in the Venice area is full of homeless people. I wonder if anybody has reached out and talked to some of the people that are working on homeless issues with regard to, could any of the area that needs to be cleaned up or redirected, could any of the area still be used to house homeless, but not to have them be homeless? That is, in conjunction with the construction of some of the homeless housing, if any of that could be done to get more support for the project you're proposing, and to help solve some parts of the homeless issue. So I'm down in Venice a lot lately, and I drive from Pasadena, and so I'm looking at this area, thinking how beautiful it really is, and yet how it seems to me, at least, underutilized for recreational purposes, as your presentation pointed out, and some solutions there. But is there a way to think about integrating at least some of the homeless population? For me in particular, it's just personal. When I see parents and children living under a bridge, that really bothers me. And maybe working with the city and the county or the state even, there could be a way to say, okay, we could integrate into this whole project a dorm or something that could be used for families, maybe for a limited time while they get on their feet or the parents get off drugs. I don't know. But I would just encourage, to consider that kind of a thing. Is there a way to push forward, not just the beauty and the use? Because I think seniors will walk along there a lot more when you guys finish with the plans that you're trying to promote. But I also think we need to, since it's such a camp out, it doesn't even matter if I'm going at 7 o'clock in the morning or if I'm coming back at 10 o'clock at night. There's families camped out in that area. So that's my only concern, my only question. I hope you will think about it. That's all. Otherwise, I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany, did you want to respond to that real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond real quick. I know that the River Project does have a plan for the homeless because they want to make sure that everyone who uses the basin, it is for them, even for the homeless, so they have a place to go. So there's a part for that too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. Well,
Okay.
again, wonderful job, folks. And I was